Now, despite what a lot of people, and by the way, if I may add, uneducated on the subject people, might say or think, carbs are not your enemy. As a matter of fact, they're extremely important for day-to-day performance, how you feel, and if you're able to successfully and strategically manipulate them correctly, they're gonna change your physique entirely. But the question is, how do we do that? How many carbs should I have a day? Well, that's what I'm here for. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, John Mango. I'm here representing Beyond the Iron, where we're looking to take your fitness and your nutrition further so you might change your life forever. And that all is going to depend on your ability to take advice and apply it, or sit around and do nothing about it. In which case, enjoy the video regardless. If you're new to the channel, this is your first time stumbling up on Beyond the Iron, John Mango's channel, then I just want to let you know that I like to drop fitness related content. We're talking workout tips, tricks, strategies, full days of eating, meal plans, nutrition, everything in between, including supplement and other fitness product reviews. So if that is something that you may be interested in, then by all means consider subscribing to the channel. So like I said, we are talking about carbohydrates. I know, I'm surprised I didn't just burn up in flames from saying that word, because according to some of y'all, they're a complete sin. Well, that is obviously not the case, and I happen to be a huge advocate for carbohydrates. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time before we dive into the content, but what I want to just go over is the overview of today's video. The first thing we're going to cover is the different types of carb diets, you could say. So we're going to go over stuff like keto, low carb, moderate carb, high carb, in other words, more vegan style diets. And we're also going to talk about myths and mistakes when it comes to carbs at the end of the video. And of course, as the title implies, I'm gonna give you a specific guideline that you should follow for you to actually figure out how many carbs you should eat per day and exactly tailor it to your circumstance, so you know and you can be comfortable in knowing that the amount of carbs you consume for yourself is optimal for your performance, your goals, and of course, your lifestyle. Oh, and also guys, I want you to know that I did take the time to, throw in the research and the studies that will show you different impacts that different levels of carbohydrates will have on your body composition, your performance, and all that good stuff. And I dropped them all the way at the bottom of the description. So if you're looking for a few extra references or things to make sure that what I'm telling you here is not bro science bullshit, because it's not, then by all means, go ahead and check out those links below. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the content. The first thing we're gonna talk about is the different types of diets and how many carbs they have in respect to them. So, for example, you've got the ketogenic diet, okay? The ketogenic diet actually refers to a diet that should have, I believe, 25 grams or less. Even sometimes they go up as far as 50 grams, but the point is to have zero actual starchy carbs. Your carbs are gonna be coming only from veggies. So essentially, it is somewhat of a zero carb diet. Now, the purpose of this is to eventually, within a few days afterwards of staying consistent with this diet, getting you into what's called ketosis, okay? Hence the name ketogenic diet. What ketosis does is it essentially is going to begin breaking down fat into your primary fuel source for your body, okay? Obviously, the lack of carbs means that your body has to run on other fuel. Now, the premise behind this is a couple things, but mainly people think that because you are now using fat as a primary source of fuel, you are melting and burning off your body fat, and that could not be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, it is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard of in my life. Here's the deal. When it comes to fat loss, as I've mentioned countless times, and I will keep mentioning to you, calorie deficit is what's gonna cause directly fat loss. So there are plenty, and I'm talking plenty, of people that follow a ketogenic diet, meaning they've actually cut out carbs almost completely, and they are not losing fat. As a matter of fact, some of them even gain fat. Okay, because the reason is that calories are much higher in fats than they are in carbs. So people think, well, I cut the carbs, now I can eat as much as I want of everything else. Well, that's simply not the case, and there's so many high calorie foods that are associated with a ketogenic diet that it doesn't actually cover the basis of what's important for fat loss, okay? So that, as well as the fact that dropping your carbs extremely low, in other words, part of the reason why I don't support the ketogenic diet is because your performance will most likely, for 99% of people out there, suffer greatly. So carbs are not technically necessary for life. That's true. You don't need carbohydrates to survive. You can do so off the other two macronutrients, protein and fats. However, when it comes to prioritizing and making sure that you maximize performance, energy, mood, adherence, basically everything, carbs exist for a reason, and they are so abundant for a reason as well, beyond just the typical marketing and sugars and all those things trying to get you to buy more of those foods. Carbs are essential. The same concept applies to a low carb diet. Low carb diet will be somewhere between 100 or less grams of carbs, but you will have some lenience in the sense that you can actually consume things like, let's say, rice, potatoes for those carb sources. Now, the thing is here is that you're probably not going to fall into ketosis, which is fine. However, the carbs are still very low. And if you're going off of a diet that simply recommends that you cut carbs down to a certain amount of grams, you're actually missing the point of what's gonna set you up for a successful fat loss phase in the long term. That is finding out your specific calories, carbs, proteins, fats, and exactly knowing how to manipulate those factors over time. If I come up to you and I say, I don't need to know your body weight, your lifestyle, your height, your age, just eat 100 grams or less of carbs and you'll lose fat. Yes, you might lose fat at first, but given that not everybody is the same, you're probably gonna suffer some bad consequences, such as, again, poor performance in and out of the gym, low energy, cravings, and just overall lower adherence. Now, when it comes to moderate carb diets, when I refer to moderate carb, I essentially mean a more normal style diet. So for example, if you calculate your calories and macros the way I always recommend that you do, if you want to learn how to calculate calories, click on this video right here. I'll show you exactly how to do that for your specific body. If you want to do that and then take and calculate your macros, as I'm going to teach you how to do so for carbs in this video, then this is what I consider a moderate carb, or just, I guess, more normal, preferred, better, optimal diet, okay? And the reason why is because this one has the most flexibility, okay? Flexible diet, it would be another version of saying this diet. And again, this is the preferred method for myself and my clients and anybody who follows me. This is the diet you should be doing. We're gonna talk a little bit more about how to figure out how to create this diet for yourself. Last but not least, I want to talk about high carb diets. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, you just told us what the most optimal is. Well, here's the thing. High carb diets are specifically reserved for, at least they should be, vegans and even some vegetarians, okay? Even pescatarians. The reason for this is because once you cut out meat is one of the most abundant and best sources of high protein that you can find. That includes eggs, dairy, and once you cut these sources of protein out, you're actually mostly stuck with sources of protein that, when high in protein, are also very high in carbs. So you almost have no choice but to eat a very high carb diet as a vegan and vegetarian. Not to mention, almost all plant-based foods are actually loaded with carbs. Fruits, veggies, lentils, beans, nuts, seeds, all those stuff loaded with carbs. So again, carbs are not vital, but it should mean something that nature has it. Everything has carbs, okay? There's a main reason for that. And I urge you to heed my advice on this and do not attempt to cut your carbs, okay? Now, let's go ahead and go into how you're gonna figure out how many carbs you need for yourself. Like I said before, check out the video where you figure out your exact calories, because that is step number one. Once you complete step number one, go ahead and check out the video I posted recently, how to figure out how much protein you need, okay? I'll go ahead and spoil it right now. It should be roughly, again, check the video out for more detail, roughly, let's say 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now you're gonna take that protein, you're gonna multiply it by 4, that's how many calories you have in a gram of protein. That number is going to give you how many calories you have eaten from protein. You're going to subtract your total calories from the calories you've used up for your protein. From there, you're going to go ahead and take 20% of your total calories and give that over to fats. Now, whatever amount of calories you have left should be completely filled in with carbs. So if you have 1,000 calories left, what you're gonna do is simply divide by 4, since there's 4 calories per gram. You will have 250 grams of carbohydrates as your goal for carbohydrates. Now, if you were expecting, like in my protein video where I say, well, if you're obese, have this many carbs. If you're skinny, have this many carbs. Well, I can't give you specific numbers, as the studies would show that there's no specific, because it's very, very different from individual to individual. But I can give you some guidelines. Let's say, for example, a skinny boy. Let's go off body types, okay? The 3 body types are ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. Ectomorph is somebody like myself, okay, male or female, that has naturally skinnier genetics, okay? So this includes a faster metabolism, lower ability to put on muscle, and slower, and somebody who has always been skinny their whole lives, for the most part. Mesomorph is somewhere in between the two. This is somebody who puts on muscle easily, but can also cut fat pretty easily, believe it or not. And, you know, they can put on muscle quite well. They've got generally good frames, good muscle insertions. Mesomorphs are the people I hate, because I wish my body type was mesomorphic, and most other people do as well. And last but not least, there's also endomorphs. Endomorphs are people that have a higher tendency to put on fat and muscle as a result. However, it's very hard for them to cut fat over time. They have slower metabolisms for the most part. Now, obviously there is thousands of variations in between, but these are the 3 main body types. Now, if you're more on the ectomorphic side of the spectrum, someone like myself, you will most likely find that you respond very well to a higher carbohydrate intake. Now, I'm not saying go vegan. What I'm saying here is simply this. You can actually most likely lower and swap out some fats in order to get some more carbs in. Now, the reason why the carbs are so important is because as an ectomorph, you want to fill your muscles up with glycogen every opportunity you get for as long as you can to maximize performance and get stronger over time. Carbs are essential to building muscle. So if you're cutting carbs out, again, you're not going to build any muscle, and you're not going to retain much. You will most likely lose muscle very quickly if you're looking for fat loss. So again, ectomorphic side, you want to keep the carbs slightly higher than the average, and on the endomorphic side, the bigger person who's able to put on more body fat a little too easily, you want to keep the carbs a little bit lower. Now, these people do find that they work a lot better with several types of lower carb approaches. So that being said, I always recommend that whatever percentage of carbs you have, you keep roughly the same, fluctuating maximum within 5 to 10%, whether that's up or down according to whether you're fat loss, calorie deficit, or muscle gain, calorie surplus, is respectively going to tell you how much you're increasing or decreasing your carbs. However, when you're cutting, carbs are extremely important because they're gonna help spare your protein. In other words, spare your muscle. Now, one thing you should keep in mind is that you want to go for more slower acting carbohydrate sources. Now, this means basically anything with lots of micronutrients in it. Sweet potatoes, regular white potatoes have lots of micros in them, so as a result, their carbohydrates are much more slower to digest. Another way to know if it's a slower digesting carbohydrate is how much fiber it has in it. So for example, veggies, they have extremely slow and extremely filling carbohydrates in them, so that makes them a great source of carbs to have. There's also oats, for example, high fiber. Steel cut oats are a great choice, and as you've probably seen in my meal plan videos, I definitely recommend having these types of carbohydrates. Now we're gonna quickly jump into some mistakes and myths that people make when it comes to carbohydrates. Now, one is something I've already spoken about for a while in this video. That's gonna be cutting carbs out completely or keeping the carbs too low. Now, most people are too lazy to go ahead and figure out their calories and their macros, so they decide, you know what, I wanna lose fat, what's the safe bet? Society and our messed up fitness industry will have you believe that cutting carbs is the surefire and quick fix way for you to lose the fat you're looking to lose. That is 100% incorrect. Now, cutting carbs down significantly and too aggressively is going to lead to a very quick loss of weight. Now, this weight includes water and some lean body mass in the process that comes from glycogen in the muscles. After that, you're not gonna see much fat loss, okay? The reason for this is because your metabolism is gonna adapt very quickly. After about 2 weeks, you probably won't see much results anymore. And this is because you're gonna have to actually figure out, regardless, what your calories, carbs, proteins, and fats are for you to manipulate the carbs slowly over time in a way that will facilitate and guarantee your fat loss results. Now that leads me into mistake number 2, which would lead to mistake number 1 itself, and that's not knowing how many carbs you're actually consuming. So not knowing how many carbs you're consuming is like not tracking your food. Most likely you don't if you don't know how many carbs you're having. This is an extremely big mistake that will guarantee that you don't see the results you're looking for, okay? If you don't track your food, and specifically you don't track your carbs either, then how exactly are you gonna know which direction you're moving in? How are you gonna know what to do next once you get to a certain plateau? You're not. Now, another thing I want to mention, a huge mistake number 3 here is you're eating too many quick acting carbs. So you're having too many carbs that are white rice, processed foods such as, sugars. Now, sugars are not directly going to make you fat. The problem with fast-acting carbs and sugars is that it causes a quick spike of insulin in the body. What that essentially means is you are not satisfied for long. When you finish eating quick carbs, sugars, candies, that kind of stuff, you'll notice that you're filled up for a little bit and then you're very hungry shortly after. The reason for that is because of the fast-acting carbs. This is the reason why I recommended earlier that you get your carbs from those slower acting sources. This is a game changer when it comes to adherence, and it's a game changer when it comes to body composition and satisfaction over time. One thing I should note is that recommendation is mostly for people looking to lose fat. If you're looking to gain muscle and you may be an ectomorphic figure like myself, then you can actually afford to throw in some quick carbs like that, because again, you're not going to be satisfied from it, so it's going to help you get more calories in. For skinny kids like me, that's something that could be difficult to do. By the way, if you're a skinny boy or girl and you need some recipes on how to do that yourself, go ahead and click right there. I've got you covered. That's pretty much it when it comes to those 3 mistakes. Do not cook carbs. Track your carbs. Try not to get your carbs from quick acting processed sources. Now, last but not least, how to adjust carbs. Now, I recently came out with a reverse dieting video where I actually attack the manipulation concept of carbs to boost your metabolism. You can click here to check that one out. But what I would say when you're adjusting carbs is manipulate them slowly. So you're gonna need to know exactly how many you're consuming, how many you need. From there, if you're looking for fat loss, let's say you lose some fat, you lose some weight, but then you plateau, you're gonna actually get rid of some carbs. When I say some, I mean a very small, subtle amount. We're talking 25 grams of carbs every time is how much you should manipulate your diet when you choose to do so. The reason why is because it's not drastic enough of a change for your body to just fluctuate and fly off the charts one way or another, but going up this conservatively and this slow is going to allow your metabolism to adapt nice and safely, nice and slowly, and allow you to get accustomed to figuring out what tactics work best for you to get those extra or less carbs in throughout the day. Not only that, but you're going to find you have much more control over your diet and much more control over your body composition. Guys, that's all I got for you in today's video. Again, if you need to reference any studies or anything that I said in terms of, keto or anything else, I'll leave some studies at the bottom of the description box for you. Other than that, that's all I got. I know it's a long video. It is a complicated topic, and I hope I was able to teach some of you something, a thing or two, about the magic of carbs. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated the video, I don't give a shit. Give it a thumbs up anyway. No, you'll probably give it a thumbs down, but I don't care. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Cheers, buds. Have another. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll get back to you ASAP. Make sure you follow my Instagram. Share everything with your friends that you feel like could help any of your friends. Go ahead and share with them. I would greatly appreciate it, and I always appreciate the constant support. Please subscribe if you haven't already for all of your fitness content. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll be sure to see you in that next video. I'm out.